You're listening to the Sass podcast. I'm your host, Christie Rocha, also known as Sass. I identify as a woman, a wife, and a mother. That should tell you a lot already. And over the last few years, I've learned the value of talk therapy. I have seen how my inner work not only enhances my own well-being, but also my marriage, my parenting, my relationships. And in fact, you wouldn't be hearing this right now if it weren't for the work I've done. My mission is to debunk the misconceptions and stigmas around what therapy is and who it's for. Let's normalize working on our mental health and seeking help when needed. We've all heard of self-care, self-help, and self-love, but do you often wonder how to actually make it all happen? I do. You'll hear strategy-based conversations with professionals, as well as inspiring and validating stories from women who are just like you and me. Think of this podcast as the weekly therapy sessions you didn't know you needed, with a dash of sass, a lot of vulnerability, and me, relentlessly asking, but how? Hi. Welcome to the show. Today is the podcast's second birthday. Happy birthday, podcast. If you caught Wednesday's show, you heard the news that in the coming months, the show will be changing a bit. And while I'm not quite ready to share more details on that just yet, I did want to take today, the second birthday, to take a look back and highlight the top 5 episodes of the last year since the first birthday and share a little bit more about those shows. And I mention it in relation to the show changing because there's a part of me that feels a little pang of, I don't know if it's sadness, but just knowing that these shows in the context with which they were shared and spoken about won't really be the case anymore moving forward in a little while here. So I just really want to take a moment to honor them and give you a chance to go back and listen. So anyway, let's get into it. The 5th most listened to episode of the last year is episode 110 with Dr. Quincy Gideon, called No One Joins a Cult, an expert in firsthand understanding of religious and cult trauma. Ooh, yeah, this was such a good one. I especially love when a guest who specializes in something very specific that I seemingly cannot relate to makes it relatable to me. They share the content so well that I can actually learn something applicable to my own life. So for example, Dr. Quincy talks a lot about nervous system dysregulation. And I've actually been thinking about this a lot because I can literally feel my body respond and change to stress in the moment. And when I think about all the work I'm doing with my holistic hormone coach, there's a lot of research out there that connects nervous system dysregulation and stress to hormones, and it's like a whole thing. You know me, I'm not a researcher. I'm not about to tell you all the research behind it, but it is something I've been thinking about and talking with my coach about quite a bit. So I just love this. Dr. Quincy shares in relation to an upcoming nervous system regulation course that she's offering that signs of nervous system dysregulation are being chronically amped up, having the impulse to be on the move all the time. On the flip side, having the impulse to shut down when overwhelmed, easily provoked or angry, and preoccupied with perfection. Now, she teaches this regulation in relation to trauma recovery and healing, but truly, I think she would agree with me, we all need this lesson. We are not taught how to regulate our nervous systems, our emotions. We aren't taught a lot about feelings, to be honest, and it's such an important skill. I particularly love how she debunks myths about regulation. For example, she shares that the myth is that the goal of nervous system regulation is to feel calm all the time. I hate that that's a myth because that's how I want to feel. But that the truth is the goal of regulation is to feel like you have a choice in how you feel. And although I said I hate that we don't just feel peaceful all the time, the idea of choice feels a lot better. So anyway, to learn more about Dr. Quincy's journey with healing and recovery from religious trauma, and the work she does with religious trauma and cult survivors today, head back over to episode 110, linked in the show notes, and have a listen. Moving on. The fourth most listened to episode of the last year is episode 92 with Gemma Rain, called Couples Are Facing a Crisis of Connection. Here's what to do about it. Now, if you are feeling like your relationship could use a connection reboot, you're going to want to listen to this one. Gemma shares her story, including her divorce from a quote-unquote nice guy after 20 years of marriage. We talk about what the actual crisis of connection means and what we can do about it. We talk about the emotional load and labor in relationships and how gender norms and roles play a huge role in the emotional health of our relationships. Gemma does this thing where she labels dynamics in relationships that you wouldn't even think to label. She does this really well on her social media. She has a TikTok account. Don't look for her anywhere else. She's only on TikTok. And she does this really well there. All of her content is original and thought-provoking. So first example, we talk about on the episode, assumption of love. We talk about the types of intimacy. Recently on her social media, she has been talking about the mirage of love, where we're talking about basically like the words of love versus the actual feelings and actions. If you just scroll through her TikTok, there's a bunch of really amazing videos on all different things. Like this one says the hostility in his passivity, the pain of mixed messages, I'm so confused, the good guy trap, desire miswire, unspoken versus unknown truths. So she really puts labels, and I know sometimes labels can be a negative thing, but the way she does it is so genuine and so they're just so thought-provoking that I don't even care if you think that your relationship is in the best place ever. There's going to be something on there that you can relate to or that you will find interesting. And just a lot of strategies for connection in your relationship and deepening your relationship, not only with your partner, but with yourself. So for more on relationships and connection, check out episode 92 with Gemma Rain. The third most listened to episode is number 90 with Meredith Hawk, called It's Okay to Not Be Okay. What happens when a self-proclaimed duoholic becomes a mom? This one resonated with so many of you. Meredith shared her postpartum mental health story, which includes severe postpartum depression. She talked about how her version of self-care comes in the form of routine and structure. And this really hit home to a lot of listeners. This idea that structure, routine, and what some might even consider to be next level organized or too organized or even rigid is in fact how you choose to live and how you feel your best. Super interesting, right? Like even in trying to talk about self-care in a meaningful way, we tend to fall into these lanes of, okay, so self-care isn't manicures, or it is manicures, or it's slowing down and taking a breath and this and that. And like, there's certainly, that's aspects of it, right? But Meredith talks about how she actually feels better as a mom when she has more routine and is a little bit faster pace. She says, and I quote, "I don't have the stay-at-home mom bone in me. I'm a way better mom and a way better wife with structure, me time, and work." And certainly, we know that is not to imply that stay-at-home moms are not fast-paced and not moving around, but her implication is that she likes to have a lot of things going on. She likes to have a lot of balls in the air. She thrives in that environment, and that is okay. And Meredith is also the one who introduced me to Melissa Fairhurst. Melissa Fairhurst. So thank you again, Meredith. And I think between Meredith and Melissa, the message that postpartum moms need to hear is that whatever you need, whatever makes you feel good is okay. Even if that contradicts what social media, your aunt, your sister, your friend is telling you should need or what work for them. You are you. Give yourself permission to feel and heal and take what you need. Self-awareness in motherhood, and particularly in the postpartum phase, is so key to ensuring that you get what you need. So to learn more about Meredith and how she came to know herself in motherhood, check out episode 90. And now for the top 2 most listened to episodes of the last year. And I'm separating them off a little bit because these 2 women are 2 of the women who are coming back to the show to talk about my new niche. And they are just such a wealth of knowledge in this arena. But going back to how we first met them, the second most listened to episode of the last year is number 78 with Libby Ward, called Depressed or Hot Mess. Diary of an Honest Mom talks on mental health and motherhood. We all just love Libby, right? Like, we're all in agreement that she's just the best. I want to first congratulate her. She recently shared that she has a book deal, so we can all look forward to hearing more from her in print and not just on our phone screens. And in the meantime, you can grab her Honest Mom Journal. It's an 8-week journal intentionally designed to help you let go of some of the unrealistic expectations and damaging mindsets that stop you from seeing all the good stuff in your life. With this journal, you'll see an increase in self-awareness, self-compassion, self-confidence, and the part that I love, positive feelings towards motherhood. And I'm really reading through all of her messaging around her journal for the first time in a deep way as I write this. And it's really hitting me how much I need this. You guys know I love me some self-awareness and some self-help stuff, but it's the increased positive feelings towards motherhood that has me like, yeah, okay, I'm going to click on this and I'm going to get it. Because as you guys know, I love my kids, blah, 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 blah. And perhaps it is this coming to an end of summertime craze that has me looking for a break and feeling a little less enthused about motherhood, if you will. Libby, I'm coming for this journal. Like, I need like a little refresh on the positivity around motherhood. So catch up on all things Libby before she reappears on the show to talk about something completely new. On episode 78, we discuss living with ADHD, her traumatic childhood, and breaking the cycle. Check it out. And the most listened to episode of the year is episode 109 with Brianna Capadagnol, Heal the Mother Wound, how this conscious mommy turned childhood trauma into her life's work. Oh, my Lanta, this episode touched so many of you. Brianna so vulnerably shared her story and opened up. She talked about her childhood trauma, specifically around her relationship with her mom. She shared how her childhood impacts her own motherhood journey and influences the work she does today. And of course, we talk about conscious parenting, how it differs from gentle parenting, and the key elements that set Brianna's philosophy apart from all other parenting strategies. Boom. Okay, so if you listen to this episode, you know just how deep and thorough it was. And all I'm really going to say about this is that you can look forward to hearing more from Brianna on a totally different aspect of her life in an upcoming episode on the show, but it is just as deep and just as thorough and just as impactful as it was the first time. It was just so good. In the meantime, head over to her social media and website to learn more about her take on conscious parenting. And don't forget to listen to episode 109 for her personal story. All right, so thank you for being here with me for the last 2 years. I kind of can't believe it's been 2 years. I am so looking forward to the next year and many more years to come. And as I've said, there are exciting new things coming to the show this fall. I'm just bursting to share with you, but I'm really not ready yet. So I'm sorry I keep teasing it, but I'm also not sorry because I want you to stay tuned. Happy birthday, Sass podcast. I will see you next week. Send me an email, send me a DM, just check in. Let me know what episodes you loved from this past year. I would love to hear. And that's it. That's all I've got. I'll see you next time. Bye. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Sass Says is a production of Luann Nigara, Inc. This podcast is meant to be educational and not meant to replace professional therapy or professional medical attention. To learn more about today's show and what's new in my world, head over to sasssays.com. Thanks so much. Talk later.